You're listening to episode 96 of Lifestyle Locker Radio with Evan DeMarco.
We've become so conditioned as a society to look for that one quick fix, that one magic bullet, and it doesn't exist. It's small corrections, small daily, improvements in your health and wellness journeys.
Hi, I'm Dr. Josh Hant, and welcome to Lifestyle Locker Radio, where we help you create an awesome life and lifestyle. From nutrition to fitness, mindfulness to peak performance, and relationships to money mindset, we bring you on an amazing journey to help you unleash your human potential. So here is a little bit about our guest today, Evan DeMarco. He's a sports medicine and nutrition expert, published author, public speaker, and frequent guest on television, radio, and digital platforms. He is a successful entrepreneur whose interest in diet, health, and supplements began as an athlete and a consumer to improve an industry that was going through massive transformation. Leveraging his sports background, his entrepreneurial success, and his thirst for knowledge, Evan returned to school to bio and organic chemistry and then went on to develop a vastly improved formula for prenatal supplements delivered in liquid form. From there, he worked to develop a supplement that would enhance the brain-building properties of his original formula, and that supplement is Alpha Plus Omega Cognitive Boost. Evan works directly with many of the top research scientists and doctors in the U.S. to build functional medicine platforms that combine the use of high-quality supplements with strategic and holistic approaches to treating illness and disease. He has brought dozens of products to market, resulting in nearly $280 million in retail sales globally. And he also lives in Northern California with his daughter. So without further ado, here's Evan DeMarco. Yo.
Hey, my friend. How you doing?
Good. Like the shades.
Thank you.
The blue lights going.
Yep. Dave Asprey would be proud.
Yes, he would. Yes, he would. Man, I'm sorry we had to do this again, but I'm glad I get to chat with you again at least.
No worries, man. Not a problem at all.
Yeah, I could not believe when I went and hit the, export button. It just totally crashed. I'm like, no, come on. Fuck. So, nonetheless, I'm just setting my recorder up right now. I have a backup going in 1 second here, so just prepping the second one.
Cool. How's the audio sound?
Audio sounds good. Very good. Now video's perfect. Awesome. All right, taking a quick pause here. As you know, at this point, we had to re-record this podcast because we had something fail. So I wanted to share that with you. I love some of the pre-show conversations, and we're going to dive into some awesome things. So make sure you pay attention to this whole episode. Take some notes. If you're listening when you're driving, don't do that. But make sure you do listen and maybe listen again, because there's some great info and great content on this episode. All right, now back to the show. All right, everybody in the locker room, like you heard before, we have Evan DeMarco. Dude, glad to see you again. Glad to hear your voice again. What's going on?
Dude, so happy to be back here. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, well, for those of you, most of you won't know why he's back again, because my stupid recorder on my computer died, so I had to get him back in here. But I think he's more jazzed up and juiced up, and he's probably, consumed so much knowledge since May when we first had our first conversation till now that this is going to be a totally new and different conversation.
Yeah, I love it. That's the beauty of our industry, right? Is everything changes every single day, so there's always something new and exciting to talk about.
Yeah. So let's give our audience a little bit of a background on you. They heard a little bit about during your bio. But I want to make sure we kind of get to know you, so their ears are gonna perk up and they're gonna pay attention to the rest of the podcast.
Oh, well, in that case, what should I say about myself? Former porn star. Would that?
Yeah, baby. There we go. Done.
Yeah. Drop the mic walk. No. So who am I? I am, I am the inevitable trajectory of a lifestyle spent in the health and wellness category. And it's a very kind of interesting route that got me to where I'm at. Sports, health, wellness, always such a major part of my lifestyle growing up. I was a baseball player, pro boxer. I lived to play sports. I lived to be outside. I lived to not be on my ass watching TV. And then I went to college, lost my baseball scholarship, ended up kind of going down this road of being an investment banker and wearing a three-piece suit and hating every moment of my life. And so after the mortgage collapse, there was this opportunity for me to consult and then ultimately acquire a sports nutrition company. And so I was doing that from the business side of things, taking all of the experience that I'd had on Wall Street and business development and applying that to the sports nutrition company. But I really got excited about product development. I got excited about the science, about how do we really optimize people's health and wellness journey. So I went back to school and started studying all the crap that no one ever wants to study. Your biochem, your organic chemistry.
Oh,
yeah.
My two favorite classes, man.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
No one loves those. Yeah. No one likes those classes. So, but it was great because I was really learning about the practical science or the educational science. And then I was able to take my notes from those classes, from that education into the lab. And it was great. I mean, I always tell the story. The lab guys just freaking hated me. I'd come in with my list of questions. I'm like, can we do this? Why can't we do this? And they're just like, dude, rookie, go away and let us do our thing. But it gave me this really unique crash course in product development. How do we look at creating dietary supplements, creating products that really help people and aren't just crap, right? And that's the problem. You go to even a Whole Foods, you go to a GNC, you go to a vitamin shop, and 90% of the stuff on the shelf is just crap.
Yeah.
So not only how do we create good products, but how do we market those effectively so that people can rise above the white noise and say, hey, that's something I want to put in my body. And so from there, I ended up, doing very well with that company, building it up, selling it off, and then started actually developing prenatal vitamins. And the story behind this is I was doing it rather dispassionately, right? I'm like, I'm just developing prenatal vitamins because it was a opportunity and something I kind of got excited about. But it was dispassionate, and then all of a sudden I found out I'm going to be a dad. And it's like,
there you go.
Whoa, okay. Now I got some skin in this game. And so what I recognized was prenatals, even the ones that I'd been kind of working on, really suck. I mean, like, these things have not evolved in the last 30 years. The same prenatal my mom was taking is the stuff that you can find on the shelf today.
That's crazy.
So, yeah, it's just not a product set that's evolved with the time. And so I really committed to fundamentally understanding how fetal brain development happens, how infant brain development happens, and what we're doing in those timeframes to really focus on optimizing brain development within kind of the most important years of our life. And that led down the road to a product that I developed called Alpha and Omega, which is a prenatal vitamin technology, and really is just a combination of high concentrate DHA and alpha glycerol phosphorylcholine, alpha GPC. And what we found is in all of the research that the first year of our lives, when our brains really are in kind of this exponential growth phase, the two major constituent ingredients in breast milk are DHA and alpha GPC. So I'm like, well, wait a second. If that's what we're getting from mom, maybe we should be taking that all the days of our lives. And so, like sands through the hourglass, I developed this product that people really take as kind of this cognitive product for daily health and wellness, and especially for optimizing brain function. And so I've been spending a lot of time with that, then developing CBD products, working on stem cell stuff. It's I'm bouncing around all over the place.
Yeah, I think we're gonna hit on all of those. So this is kind of interesting, just hearing boxer, baseball player, nutrition company, banker, very analytical mind, obviously, right? So we dive in and we get this company going, and then it's like the shift prenatal. Like, I'm like, wait, hold on. We got a guy that's probably like learning all about the sports nutrition and then jumps into prenatal, and it becomes a brain study, essentially, in the long run, right?
Yeah. And it's, I oftentimes find it's funny. I was just working on a blog post. So next weekend, I'm competing in the Spartan Beast up in Lake Tahoe.
Oh, sweet.
And the evolution of this was that basically one of the social media influencers that I work with was like, hey, why don't we do this? I'm like, yeah, sure, why not? And I know nothing about a Spartan Beast. And this really becomes typical for how my life is played out. It's a very screw it, let's do it. Ready, fire, aim kind of concept. And so I often find that just when opportunities would come across, like this prenatal, working with ACOG, working with doctors, I got excited about it. I got excited about really taking whatever base knowledge I had acquired at that point and applying it to another problem. And that really was the problem, right? Is prenatal vitamins, which are so important, really had a low compliance. Women were not taking them as much as they needed to. MTHFR mutations, which have become really prevalent now. I mean, there's the estimate that 45% of the global population suffer from those, really are starting to have an impact on infant mortality, right? And so for the largest of industrialized nations, we have the highest fetal mortality rate or infant mortality rate. It's like, that's a major disconnect.
Yeah.
And I look at it, it's like diet, it's lifestyle, it's all the things that we talk about, but a lot of it is just prenatal vitamin supplementation. So there was a very strategic and inherent problem that needed to be solved. And I felt like I had the skill set to kind of work on solving it. And it just so happened along the way, I got blessed with the perfect baby girl.
Yeah. And then I mean, that's amazing. Then I can imagine just like the laser focus, just that, from being in it to like being like 200% in.
Oh, yeah. I mean, at that point, you're all in, and you're like, well, wait a second. I don't know what genetic chaff I'm bringing to the equation, so I got to find a prenatal vitamin that really helps offset the crap that I'm doing.
Yeah. So what do you think? We look at history, we'll go like pharmaceutical companies, when food was actually something that was farmed, really farmed, and we ate it before it went bad. So when do you see like the shift in the need for supplementation? I see like just the quality of everything is food wise is crap.
Oh, absolutely. It's kind of funny, right? I had this conversation, and I believe inherently that the worst invention of all time is the refrigerator. I mean, if you think about it like that, take the Freon gas out of it and what that does to the environment and all of that.
Yeah.
We put ourselves in a position where we no longer have to work and understand our food source. And subsequently, we're able to preserve crap longer.
Yeah.
So as we kind of go back to pre-refrigerator days, all of those food sources became essential. I think we understood what we had to put in our bodies to stay healthy. Now, the folic acid or the folate equation was probably something that was missing in prenatal, 150 years ago. And probably just because people weren't eating folate-rich vegetables at the time. And that's one thing that we have done. And obviously, you look at like the 50s and 60s when folic acid was in everything. All of a sudden, everything was folic acid fortified, right?
Yeah.
And that's because neural tube defects in spinal bifida happen at 2 to 4 weeks of pregnancy, most of the time when most women don't realize they're even pregnant.
Yes.
So the FDA took an intelligent stance towards preventing neural tube defects in spinal bifida by fortifying all of these foods. But then, like so many things, good ideas go way off the rails, and then it's like, well, yeah, you fortified your Captain Crunch.
Yeah. Well, no, goes in the garbage.
Exactly.
So, like, that's pretty interesting. I never even had that conversation or even thought about that with refrigerators. But it's really, it's so true, right? We're so disconnected from food sources, from I have this conversation with my patients on a regular basis, and they're eating like red meat like 7 days a week. I'm like, listen, I'm not opposed to eating red meat, but you're probably eating not good red meat. And when the hell would you actually be doing that in the real world?
Exactly. Yeah. It really is fascinating how we've kind of just distorted the whole, the food integration into our lives. And that's a perfect example, right? Eating red meat 7 days a week. What does your colon look like?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm blown away as a chiropractor, working with people's neurology all the time. And these people have like low back issues, and then then their gut is disrupted, and then they're feeding themselves this crap. And like, I'm not getting better. It's taking too long. I go, it's not just in one magic bullet, my friend. You got to start doing things that are healthy, and it's crazy.
Well, and I think you touched on you hit the nail on the head, right? Is we've become so conditioned as a society to look for that one quick fix, that one magic bullet, and it doesn't exist. It's small corrections, small daily, improvements in your health and wellness journey, so that you are doing that. And it starts with not eating red meat 7 days a week.
Yeah,
have a freaking salad, for the love of God.
Yeah, no, it blows my mind. And in the world you live in, you're talking about like CBD products, your Alpha and Omega, and also started stem cell. You said you were doing stem cell stuff like pre-chat here.
Yeah. So if you can tell, my face is really red. So I was at the Docere Clinic in Salt Lake City yesterday with Dr. Amy Killen. doing stem cell therapy, and it was kind of interesting, right? So you're doing PRP and stem cells, and so they take this PRP, your platelet-rich plasma, out of your blood, and then put it back into you in unique places. I had my penis injected yesterday, which was about as much fun as it sounds.
Doesn't sound painful at all.
No, not at all. It's in fact, I'm crying just thinking about it again. Actually,
I'm standing. I'm just like wiggling, thinking, oh God.
Yeah, it was a little rough. In fact, my voice just cracked when I said that. But it's really fascinating, right? It's we look at what this stem cell can do. And so I had the vampire facial, which I think Kim Kardashian, unfortunately, has made somewhat popular as of late. But it's you microneedle the shit out of your face and then rub PRP all over it. And it's kind of an interesting concept. But it's a lot like exercising, right? Is small traumas allow your body to come back even stronger. It's the same thing with working out. It's microscopic tears allow your muscles to grow. So we're creating these small traumas in your face to allow collagen and elasticity to kind of come back. Then I did the ones in my hair because, sometimes I can be a little vain and I'm pissed off that I'm losing some hair as I get older.
Aerodynamics, my friend. You're doing a Spartan beast. Aerodynamics.
Exactly, yeah. I need to be able to run faster. So there's all of this incredible technology. There's all of this incredible stuff out there that allows us to really take a look at our health and wellness journey and say, yeah, I want to do that. I want to optimize my mitochondrial function. I want to work on stem cell proliferation and cellular rejuvenation. And that's just one small component of it. It's diet, it's lifestyle, it's all the things we talk about. But there's some emerging technology that's like, hey, that's pretty cool. I want to get on that.
Yeah. So what, like, people are talking about stem cells, and you mentioned the vampire facial. Why would people be using stem cell therapy? Like, what is the real benefit? I've heard stuff for years, like talking about like instead of contacts, getting stem cells in the eyes, or doing stuff in Europe and people's knees and all of these different things. What's the benefit?
So great question. And the real answer is we don't know. What we do know is that really we're activating our body's own immune response. We're activating our body's own ability to heal and to kind of do what it's supposed to do. In theory, what we're doing is kind of reversing the age clock, right? You're improving cellular rejuvenation, you're improving mitochondrial function. But the problem is that we don't really know a lot about this. This is technology, this is medicine and science that's still in its infancy. So a lot of these people are going to these clinics and using stem cells for like joint issues. And there seems to be a lot of great science and a lot of great results on that. We've kind of taken it one step further and through scientific understanding, but to a degree of conjecture, said, hey, if we just inject this all over our body, if we put this everywhere, then our body is really going to take these stem cells, these exosomes, and do with it what it needs to. So it kind of metabolically decreases the time frame necessary for us to heal and for us to kind of optimize our own body's response to inflammation, to environmental toxins, to just the aging process.
Yeah. So do you see this being something that'll probably be like more in the forefront of wellness as we move forward in time?
Absolutely. And I think, in Sacramento, which is where I spend part of my time, UC Davis has a stem cell clinic. So we're really starting to see academia jump in on the research behind this and really start to understand how we can apply it to all sorts of indications, and whether that's, eye health, whether that's brain health, joint health obviously is the big one. I know there's some doctors down in Texas who are doing stem cells for spinal injury. So we're starting to see some benefit for people who've had, spinal injury, whiplash, car accidents, not to the point that we're, reversing paralysis, but actually taking away some serious pain or some serious chronic pain as a result of major spinal trauma.
Wow, that's pretty neat to be able to help the neurology that way. That's really, I'm just thinking as a chiropractor, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I think, again, I think chiropractic is really going to start to see the benefits because, you're talking about musculoskeletal and how these things can really help, especially with injury. And if we're just allowing our bodies, if you go and adjust someone and then stem cells really allow that adjustment to take hold and to root where you don't have to go back and continually, readjust someone, I think you're just making what you guys do that much more effective.
Yeah, time will show us. That's pretty neat. So do you also see with stem cells any like performance enhancing stuff as far as like athletes using them?
I think so. I think more in the area of recovery.
Recovery?
And I think we're not going to. So I was on the plane yesterday and I was watching the CrossFit Games documentary.
Okay.
And you see guys like that. It's like where you're 6 or 7 days in these like heavy, insane workouts. I would see stem cells playing a major part in recovering. Where you've got serious lactic acid buildup, muscle tears, all of these things.
Yeah.
If you've got stem cells that are jumping in and helping out with that recovery equation, high performance athletes like that, I think, are going to be able to perform even more impressively.
Okay, interesting. I possibly have an October 50 miler and then 2 marathons in November. So I may need to make a vacation somewhere at Utah or something in between.
Dude, I would highly recommend it. And I think, the reality is you look at races like that is some serious trauma to your body.
Yeah.
And we know what long-term running does, and we know what these marathoners are going through. So anything that you can do to give your body a chance to heal, to recover better, I think it's a win-win.
Yeah. So now talk about recovery. Let's jump in. I know, we spoke about omega-3s, just quickly in your story. I want our audience to some people probably have a very clear idea of what they are, but I know there's multiple different types of omegas that we consume on a regular basis. And can you kind of go over like what's good, what's bad, and then what, in history of it? Yeah,
great question. So let's go back in time, kind of to the pre-refrigerator revolution, and talk a little bit about the omega-6 and omega-3 ratio. And I think we chatted about this the last time. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, the average omega-6 to omega-3 ratio is about 4-1.
Yeah.
And all of these omegas, the omega-6, the omega-3, the omega-9, these are all good, but they have to be ratioed out properly. And now, as a result of kind of the industrial food revolution, the way that our diets have gone, we've got omega-6 ratios around 20-1. And that becomes ridiculously inflammatory. Like our bodies are just hyperinflamed. So now we attach the fish oil equation to this. And let's talk a little bit about how fish oil and omegas come to be, or how your fish oil supplement ends up in your cabinet. Most of the time, if you're buying fish oil, that fish oil is coming from anchovies and sardines caught off the coast of Peru, Chile and Peru. And from there, they're literally taken to a factory and just kind of pressed, right? So you have this fish meal, fish guts, bones, all the stuff. Those are usually sent off to like fertilizer factories, pet food factories, things like that. The rest of that oil is commonly referred to as 1812 or crude oil. And that 1812 is representative of the EPA and the DHA concentration for a total of about 30% omegas. The rest of that fish oil the remaining 70% of that fish oil is pro-inflammatory omega-6, cholesterol, saturated fat, all of the bad stuff. And here's a perfect way that you can tell if you're getting a lower concentrate oil like that is take your fish oil capsule, put it in your freezer. If you wake up in the morning, take it out, and it's cloudy, you'll know you have a lot more saturated fat in there than you have omega-3s.
Okay.
So what good companies will do on the fish oil equation is they'll concentrate it up. They'll take it to a factory and they'll start to remove that 70% bad fat stuff, and then you end up with a higher concentration fish oil. And that's what we really look for when we come to talking about fish oil for people to take on a daily basis, is something that's higher concentrate, that's a little bit closer to like an 80-90% versus that 30%. And if we really kind of take that back to this omega-6 to omega-3 ratio, which we're starting to see is having a very systemic impact on most people's health. Perfect example is your client eating red meat.
Totally.
Yeah, like their omega-6 to omega-3 ratio guaranteed is completely out of whack. If you take that cheap fish oil, that 30%, and it's got all of that extra omega-6 in there, you're not doing yourself any benefit. So if you're finding a higher concentrate, then you're really starting to work on that inflammation resolution, allowing your body to resolve inflammation the way that it should, which is to tackle acute inflammation before it becomes chronic, which then becomes disease.
Yeah, so it's kind of like helping your body balance, like a triple beam balance, right? From being in school, like we need to start to add more of the good stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, and take out the bad stuff, the corn oils, the red meats, the McDonald's.
Yeah, totally. And with taking fish oil, is there a point where you can take too much? Like
Absolutely.
Where it can oxidize in the body and just be like even if you're taking the best stuff on the planet?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that, one of the things that I really recommend to people is whatever supplement you're going to take, make sure there's a need for it. And so the best way to do that is to not listen to your mailman or the internet or, someone is talk to your chiropractor, talk to your health and wellness professional who's going to be a part of your journey, and utilize intelligent diagnostic tests to help determine what you should take. If you're looking at your Omega Quant test, if you're looking at your blood work, and, those are going to be the tools that help guide what it is that you should be taking. But with fish oil, absolutely, it's a fat soluble. It's going to store in your body. And just like any, if I go leave a fillet of salmon out on my counter and I go on a business trip and I come back 2 weeks later, it's going to go rancid and my house is going to smell like, well, what it's going to smell like. Yeah. It's kind of the acme of foolishness to not think that it's going to do the same in our body if we've got all of that extra fish oil in there. So I always recommend it's like go like 6 weeks on, 2 weeks off when it comes to your supplementation, especially on your fat solubles. You need that amount of time for those polyunsaturated fatty acids to build up in your system, but then give yourself a 2-week cleansing period where you're allowing all of the oxidative fish oil to kind of metabolize through your system, and then you start over clean.
Oh, so
you just kind of cycle on and off, just like anything. Your body's going to get used to it. So give your body a chance to miss that fish oil and then bring it right back.
Okay, I actually never heard that. Looks like that's my turn now. This is going to be my 2 weeks coming up. Okay. All right. So, and also, CBD's become like such a huge, huge topic. I've actually interviewed a couple people on it already, but I love hearing, everybody's take on it because I hear different things every time, similar but different. So why CBD?
That's a great question. The honest answer is because it's popular. It's okay. Look, let's look at the history of this, right? I mean, the hemp plant has been used for medicinal purposes for 5,000-10,000 years. Ancient China, ancient India. It's like we've known about its medicinal benefits. We don't really know why up until recently. So now all of a sudden we find this endocannabinoid system, the ECS, these CB1 receptors in your brain, these CB2 receptors in your body, these things that kind of work to help modulate inflammation, that modulates stress response, appetite, all of these things. But again, it's like it's all so new in its infancy. So we're kind of conjecturing, we're speculating a lot on this. What CBD, or more importantly, in my opinion, full spectrum phytocannabinoids do is help to support the endocannabinoid system, which helps support stress response, appetite control, sleep, things like that. As we kind of look at the modern lifestyle, we are just jacked up all the time. We're so stressed out and just, wired and constantly, plugged into our devices and stimulated by blue light and all of these things. So, the CBD seems to have a role in helping modulate the current lifestyle, the current American, shall we say, lifestyle. I think the jury is still out long-term on what its long-term benefit and impact is. And I think most importantly, what most people are saying about CBD is it's this great catch-all, right? It does everything. It's this endocannabinoid system is going to cure everything that ails you. I think the ultimate role is to understand that CBD does not exist in this kind of panacea mode, but it's just one component of what you may or may not need to improve your health and wellness.
Okay. So are there actual blood tests or any kind of testing where they actually can test how the ECS is functioning?
Not really well right now.
Okay. I didn't think so. I didn't think so, but you're in this world a lot deeper than I am. Have you had any interesting experiences with CBD yourself, or have friends or clients or anybody that are using it, have been using it for a while?
Yeah, absolutely. And so this phyto. So one of the things that I recognize right up front is that we do know that omegas do impact the endocannabinoid system. So I wanted to create a product that synergistically worked, and we could really understand some of the existing science that was out there around omega. So I created this Phyto 3 product, which was a combination of omegas, CBD, and theanine. And I was really kind of looking at stress modulation, right? It's like, and sometimes I create products for myself, but I'm always on planes. I'm always in traffic. I'm always stressed out. I don't sleep. I'm like, I need something to kind of take the edge off. I took CBD and I'm like, I guess something. And then I mix it with omegas. I mix it with theanine. I'm like, whoa, that was awesome. It's like I could take something early in the morning. It didn't make me tired. I felt more laser focused, and I felt like I was able to kind of drown out a lot of the white noise that exists out there. And then most importantly, I was sleeping like crazy, like, sleep that I hadn't had in 15 years. So that's my experience. And then I did a focus group with this particular product, and we had 30 people on this product for 2 months. And I mean, this one woman started crying in the filming of this. She's like, I didn't know I could sleep this well. And when you recognize how poorly you've been sleeping and then what real sleep is and what that does for your life, you're like, holy shit. Like that's, that's
Go ahead.
I was going to say that's a game changer.
Total game changer. My experience, I've been using CBD now for a while, and I absolutely love it. It's like full spectrum. The stuff I take is in a tube. It's like a paste. It tastes like I'm like chewing up like lawn clippings. It's like the full plant spectrum. It's kind of gross. But when you talk about sleep, I have some of the most vivid dreams I can remember. Like the deepest, like wake up and go, holy crap! That was just 6 hours or whatever the hell it was. It's like, unbelievable. I have not tested, obviously what you're using, and I definitely will. Because you're saying it. Explain what theanine is, because you said CBD, omega-3s, and theanine. Yeah,
theanine is just derived from green tea leaves. And so what we find is that it really kind of helps modulate, glutamine. And so you have this you basically have this stress response, especially in the brain. So it becomes calming without being sedative. So now you've got this neural inflammation control with the CBD. You've got endocannabinoid support, which is stress modulation throughout your entire body. And then you throw in this kicker, this theanine, which is calming without being sedating. So I literally say it's like turning the white noise dial down to like a 1. You could be in an office and everyone's screaming and yelling, and you're just kind of like, yeah, I'm getting my emails done. Like, it's awesome.
That's pretty neat. So have you seen any? I work with a lot of athletes, and it's become a common. They've been talking about CBD, but a lot of them cannot even use it because of trace parts of THC. There's THC in it.
Yeah.
So like, do you know any athletes that are using it? 2, do you see a way, or do you see in the future that athletes will be able to use this, and THC will be kind of a type of thing, like a moot point?
Yes, and I think we always have to look at it from the standpoint. I remember a couple Olympics ago, and one of the guys was like stripped of his medal for having THC in his system. I'm like, that is not a performance enhancing drug. I'm like if I take THC, I stare at a wall for 3 hours. Like, how do we look at THC as a performance enhancing drug? What we do know is that obviously to be legally compliant and sold in the United States, you have to have THC at below 0.3%. Now that's a really low amount, but it still can show up in tests. So a lot of these athletes are kind of reluctant to jump into CBD, which really does show some promise for controlling post-workout inflammation. And so a lot of the companies now are working on non-detectable levels of THC. We're actually removing it completely. Now the problem with that is that then the cost basis just goes through the roof. Yeah. So while we're solving for the problem of THC right now, my ultimate hope, especially with the passage of the Farm Bill, which looks like it's going to go through almost any day now, is that the market itself is really going to start to loosen up on some of these things, the 0.3%. And once that happens, if our blood tests are accurate enough to say that your THC levels are legally compliant within the CBD spectrum, then you should be able to compete in any event. Yeah. And again, from the standpoint that THC is not a performance-enhancing drug.
Yeah, because I have my brother-in-law is as a PGA golfer, and I've been talking to him about it. He's super interested. He goes, I can't. I can't even take certain supplements because they're so regimented. Yeah. Like what they can. He goes, it's so silly, but he goes, if I get random blood tests, I'm out.
Yeah. And I think that's, that's really just a disservice, right? Because we do know this is not a drug. I mean, come on. It's like the DEA, classified this. Actually, it was long before that, but in the 30s, the whole history behind it is marijuana and subsequently CBD was classified as a Schedule I drug simply because we were looking for an opportunity to deport Mexicans back across the border. And so it became a weird reverse immigration policy where marijuana was the catalyst to basically the law was originally written that Mexicans would come across the border, smoke marijuana, and solicit sex from white women. And that is verbatim what was written in the law.
I believe
And
it.
so it was just a horrible, reverse immigration policy. It was classified as a drug. And then that ruling was eventually overturned. But in the 60s, the DEA did reclassify it as a Schedule I drug on the same level as like heroin and cocaine. And like, come
same
on.
thing. Totally,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, like let's do the math on this one. And politics aside, your opinions aside, or whether you're pro marijuana or not, I think there's a ridiculousness to that. So hopefully this farm bill will kind of alleviate some of that and allow athletes to take advantage of this. And I think it's funny. Now it's really getting political. I don't know if you saw over the weekend, but Coca-Cola is now trying to invest in a CBD farm in Canada. So now, and what it's forcing this, and then like, what was it? Constellation Brands, which owns Corona Beer, spent $4 billion on a acquisition of a CBD farm in Canada. So now all of these American companies are starting to invest in Canada simply because our regulations are so ass backwards. And it's really putting a lot of pressure on Congress to say, we're going to lose a lot of this American money to foreign institutions or to foreign countries unless we can pull our head out of our you-know-where and figure out that this is just a plant.
That's so crazy. I think it's just funny, Coca-Cola buying something. It's like this chemical company trying to get into like the wellness world. Come on.
Well, and it kind of makes sense, right? You're seeing the CBD waters, you're seeing some of these other products. So as their revenues just drastically drop because people don't want soda anymore, they're looking for the next emerging concept. And I think CBD-based products really gives them an opportunity to jump into a market that they haven't really played well in, and that's the health and wellness space.
Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. Absolutely crazy. So what's next for you? You have your Spartan race coming on, Spartan Beast. You ready for it?
No, absolutely not. So the funny thing is Callie Bundy, who's she's the trick shot girl from Instagram, major collegiate athlete, total badass, is my partner, and we're going head to head with the barbell shrugged guys, two CrossFitters who are in shape and work out all the time, and there's me, the total weak link in there. So we've got at least an 8-hour race in front of us. I'm not well trained for it. I'm not well prepared for it. But like anything, we're going to go and have fun and enjoy the hell out of it. And then after that, I'm sure it'll take 2 or 3 weeks of me crying, curled up in the fetal position, sucking my thumb to recover. And then it's, then it's on with the CBD crusade. It's really I want to make sure that we've got a platform for CBD companies to legally and intelligently bring CBD-based products to market with regulatory certainty, with a recognition that we need to get rid of all the cowboys out there, selling crap CBD.
Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
Yeah, and elevate the game, make sure that it's regulated, make sure that, there's quality control in place, and make sure that, we are introducing the best quality products to the market so there is no confusion about what this stuff does. And then allow that to lead into the next round of research so we can figure out, hey, is this stuff really good long term? What can we use it for? Is it, what other indications can we really support with it?
Yeah, that's pretty neat. As I have patients bring me like 2 things, like a website and an article. It's like, I can get this CBD for $5 or $17, and I can get this one for $180. What's the difference? I'm like,
yeah.
Besides money, I'm sure one is probably a better product than the other, but it's crazy the zero regulation, right?
Zero regulation. And I think the problem is right now the regulatory landscape is such. If you want to sell legally compliant CBD in the United States, technically you can't. Anything that says CBD on it is illegal, but as long as it says full spectrum phytocannabinoids, you're fine. So the Farm Bill, the Department of Agricultural Farm Bill that allows for the interstate commerce of full spectrum phytocannabinoids is predicated on foreign source. So it has to come from a foreign country, have THC below 0.3%, be sourced from the stalks and stems of industrial hemp, and be labeled as full spectrum phytocannabinoids instead of CBD. So if you start seeing, products like grown in Kentucky, it's not that they might be bad, it's that they're currently illegal to purchase across state lines. So I always use that as your starting place and recognize that obviously the regulations could change any day now. Supercritical extraction is one of the best ways to technically remove or to effectively remove THC below the 0.3%. So if you start seeing things like that, supercritical extraction, superfluid chromatography, and I think the other thing, right, is price. To get CBD or full spectrum phytocannabinoids from stocks and stems, it's a very expensive process. And so to be legally compliant, the higher price point product, probably the better off. And what I always tell people is, if you're going to go down the road of CBD, go with a company that sells other products as well. Make sure you're finding a company that's had longevity, had a history in the health and wellness game as a supplement company, and they're not just selling one tincture of CBD. A company that's got more to lose than just, a website. Because those are the companies that are going to be like, they did their due diligence, they worked hard, they made sure that they're not jeopardizing their entire business to just go out there and be part of the land grab for CBD.
Okay, fair enough. So how do we get people? How would people be connecting with you? I know it was you're a researcher, you're a product developer. How do we get people to stay connected to you or to what you're up to?
So if you go to omaxhealth.com, there's a great blog that has a lot of the articles that I've written on some of this stuff, and you can connect with me through there. Evan_DeMarco on Instagram. I think Evan DeMarco on Facebook. But yeah, just
Okay.
Google me, smoke signals, flag me down, whatever. It's
Very cool. That's great. So I really want to thank you, and I want to ask you one last question, because we kind of went pretty wide today. If you had to recommend something or 3 simple things, do these 3 things tomorrow that's going to make your health and wellness and well-being better, what would you tell people?
Great question. And I said this before, I think I'll say it again, is limit your phone time, right? And especially at night and in the morning. It's for 30 minutes before you go to bed. Don't look at your phone. Put it in a different room, charge it in a different room. Just don't look at it. And for 30 minutes in the morning, don't do that either. It's like, we, as Americans, we've become so compulsive about making sure that's the last thing we see before we go to bed and the first thing we see when we wake up. By limiting that blue light, hence my glasses here.
Yeah, totally.
By not exposing ourselves to all the stresses and the anxieties that come from that phone, emails, social media, all of that, we kind of allow ourselves to get into a better night's sleep. And then first thing in the morning, create a routine, meditate, journal, do something that's for you specifically. Don't just allow the phone to create a reactive component to every single day. So that's the big one. I think other than that is resistance training. I love cardio. That's not true. I hate cardio. I think, I'm learning to love cardio as I'm training for the Spartan, but what we really know about longevity is that resistance training and maintaining muscle mass is essential for long-term health. So lift some weights, get a good trainer, work with your chiropractor, get on a good plan that puts you in the gym, 4 to 5 times a week doing some resistance training, and, have your cheat day. But don't go big on it. There's nothing wrong with cutting back and relaxing and enjoying yourself a little bit. Eating red meat 7 days a week is not good. 1 day a week, not bad.
Yeah, totally. So Evan, thank you, man. That's awesome. I love the phone time, or lack thereof, the phone time, because I said in my own life and God, working in the city in New York, and just they're attached to people. Soon I think they're gonna have implants.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So thank you so much. I hope we can connect again. Maybe do a Spartan or something.
Dude, that would be awesome.
I'm not as crazy as the people you're with, but I like to play.
Dude, let's do it. We'll do a team lifestyle locker. Go hit a Spartan. We can do a sprint instead of a beast and probably have just as much fun.
Well, you'd want to do, what's the next one? Is there one bigger than the beast?
Yeah, I don't know. Probably
you should do
something.
that one.
Yeah,
totally. No running.
I think it's called the Spartan heart attack.
Yeah, okay, got it. Yeah, I think I've heard of that one. All right, brother, man. Awesome chatting, and we'll stay connected, bro.
Dude, thanks so much for having me. As always, it's a blast.
Locker Nation. What up, y'all? Hope you enjoyed that episode. Evan DeMarco is completely awesome. This guy is a wealth of knowledge, and all of his research, all of his studying, all the hard work that he puts in, he's able to create content and supplements and help you be healthier as a human being. So having this guy on this planet is such an awesome asset because he's never going to stop learning. He's a man on a mission, and I'm glad to be able to share him with you. We will probably have him on again at some point to see what he's doing next. I'm always curious to see people like this that are influencing and helping the world become a better place and a healthier place. And also, I want to let you know this last thing, that if you are a runner, I want to make sure you head over to lifestylelocker.com/45-day endurance challenge. That's lifestylelocker.com/45-day endurance challenge. All one word, right? Go there, check it out. There's an awesome program that is insanely discounted right now. You definitely want to check it out. But back to Evan DeMarco. Make sure you do connect with him. All his details will be in the show notes. If you rewind a little bit, you'll be able to hear him when he mentions them. But we will actually plug everything in the show notes so you can connect and stay connected with him. All right, y'all. Have an awesome day, evening, night, wherever you're listening to this and whenever you're listening to this. Peace out.